Warren.
Ukraine lost an F-16. Has Ukraine communicated that to the U.S.? Does the U.S. have any sense of whether it was down by Russian fire or by something else? And has Ukraine asked the U.S. for any assistance in the investigation?
I've seen the reports. I'm not aware of any assistance or request for assistance from the Ukrainian side to us about this particular incident. But I'd refer you to the Ukrainians more to speak to any specifics on this pilot. Yes.
Thank you, Sabrina. A little bit of background to the question is, American troops are being attacked in Syria, Iraq, and from Yemen. Terrorists in those countries are also attacking Israel. So whose responsibility is it to stop the attacks and the attackers? And I have a follow-up.
Well, that's a pretty broad question. But as you know, since October 7th, we have been postured to defend Israel. I'm not going to go through the all the things that we have done in terms of moving our forces to the region to de-escalate tensions. What I can tell you is that our forces, as you probably are aware, we have 2 carrier strike groups in the Central Command AOR. We also have assets in the Eastern Mediterranean. They're there to protect our forces. They're also there to help defend Israel should we need to defend Israel. And of course, we will always take care of our troops, whether they be in Iraq and Syria. And we've maintained the force protection to do that. And you had a follow-up?
Yeah, the follow-up is, since terrorist groups within Syria, Iraq, and Yemen are proxies of Iran, then why isn't the Pentagon stopping the source, which is Iran?
So I will tell you that we always reserve the right to respond at a time and place of our choosing. When we have been attacked, whether it be in Iraq or Syria, we have responded. And I'm just going to leave it at that. All right, next question, JJ Green, WTOP.
Thanks, Sabrina, for this. To the question about the F-16 that crashed in Ukraine, killing the pilot. Can you say how many F-16 U.S.-made F-16s are in Ukraine or are on their way or will be sent there? And what, if anything, can you say about that incident more than what you said to Oren?
Jay, unfortunately, this will not be very satisfactory to you, but I'm just not going to get into numbers of how many F-16s are in Ukraine. That's something for them to speak to. That opens up a lot of operational security issues as well. So I'm just not going to be able to speak to that. In terms of the incident and the pilot that has been referenced and that Oren had asked about earlier, I'm just not going to be able to provide more. That's really something for Ukraine to speak to. We have been, as you know, training pilots here in the United States. I will say that, broadly speaking, combat aviation is incredibly complex. And we've been very proud to train some of the pilots here in the United States, and not just here, but our partners and allies through the UDCG are also training Ukrainian pilots on F-16s. Every day that they fly those aircraft, these are brave men and women going up there to defend their skies and to defend their country. And so we're very proud to have been part of training some of those here in the United States. But I just don't have more to add on that particular incident. I'll take one more from the phone and then happy to come into the room. Sorry, I think Eric Schmidt, New York Times. Charlie.
Thank you, Sabrina. Going back to the F-16.
Sure.
American-trained pilot, American-equipped F-16s, including, I think, a new electronics warfare package, American-advised, which is still going on. Are you telling we're not tracking, we don't have the reason for what happened when it has consequence for the United States?
I'm just telling you that I cannot confirm the incident. I'd refer you to the Ukrainians to speak to their own operations.
But we, as the United States, are tracking the F-16s that we've
appreciate the question, but I'm just not going to get into any more specifics about the incident.
Changing gears, you
sure.
would say. It seems the Houthis have been acting up again. Do we have a force presence in the Red Sea?
Through Operation Prosperity Guardian, between the U.S. and our allies and partners, we always maintain a presence within the Red Sea. I can't speak to specific ships that are there right now, but we do have, through partners and allies, a presence there.
Thanks. The Secretary has routine conversations with his Israeli counterpart. Was he or anybody at the department notified ahead of the operations in the West Bank over the last 24 hours?
To my knowledge, we were not notified about operations in the West Bank. We are aware that, Israel or the IDF is conducting some type of operations there. We're trying to get a better understanding of what they're doing, but to my knowledge, we were not notified beforehand.
And then yesterday there was a meeting between Arab military attachés and counterparts here at the Pentagon. Can you say anything more? Was that just a routine meeting? Was it? Obviously, with the context, everything, and the backdrop of everything going on in the region, it seems to have come at an interesting time.
Yeah, my understanding is this was a working level meeting that happens routinely. I wouldn't read too much into the timing. It's just something that does happen.
General Ryder said that the ship that was attacked by the Houthis recently.
The So Union?
Yes, the So Union appeared to be leaking. The EU said yesterday, and then today they came out and said it's not leaking. So can you tell us anything about why the Pentagon assesses it to be leaking and the EU not?
So there is, so what I will tell you is the tanker is carrying 1 million barrels of crude oil. Those barrels remain intact right now. The vessel itself is leaking some oil from where it was hit. There is still a fire going on, or multiple fires still burning on the ship itself. Those fires have not been able to have been put out by anyone because the Houthis are threatening to attack, any type of salvage recovery mission right now. So those fires have the potential to spread, which has the potential to get to those oil barrels, which will then obviously leak potentially 1 million barrels of crude oil into the Red Sea, destroying major ecological systems and creating an environmental, I think catastrophe is the only word to use. Yeah.
Thank you. Sabrina, with regard to this Iranian attack in the region that we've been expecting for more than a month now, and that hasn't happened, first of all, would you deem that as a success of the United States, both in terms of diplomacy and military posture in the region, that might have deterred it so far? And are you still expecting it is the threat as real as it was a couple of weeks ago? Are you still alert?
So a few things, as we've said, I don't have the prediction calendar, crystal ball to predict and to forecast an attack. What I can tell you is I think we certainly got into the headspace of Iran and how they're making their calculations. You have 2 carrier strike groups in the region. We have said both very publicly and privately that we are there to protect our forces and will, of course, always stand in the defense of Israel should we need to. Whether that's impacted Iran's calculation, I think it has affected their decision making. Will there be an attack? I can't predict the future. I can't answer that. We remain postured, though, to protect our forces. And of course, if we need to, come to the defense of Israel.
Again, one more. Earlier this week, Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff said that since we've seen the Hezbollah attack, now we can say that there's less of a chance of a regional war. Do you share that assessment that Iran could also conduct an attack on a similar level, not something that's going to spark a regional war? Do you think their hands are tied a little bit because of the US military posture? Do you feel like that attack is going to be limited?
Again, I can't predict what an attack would look like. What I can tell you is I don't think anyone wants to see a regional war. We certainly don't, and that's why we've made the decisions, or the Secretary has made the decisions to move different carrier strike groups throughout the region since October 7th, to rotate different and to bolster our force posture and our force presence in the region. We announced like a month ago, we have another squadron of F-22s in the region. So we're going to continue to take the steps that we need to send a message of deterrence, because that's ultimately what we're sending. And all the capabilities that we're sending, they are there to be defensive in nature. Beyond that, I can't predict what other actors will do, other than to say that we, the United States, do not want to see a broader regional war, and we've said that from the very beginning.
Thank you, Sabrina. Regarding to the West Bank operation for the IDF, the United Nations Secretary Guterres described this military operation as like a dangerous development, and he asked to stop these, and he said that's already exclusive the situation. So do you share with him his concerns, and especially when we see all the readout from the Secretary Austin when he called his Israeli counterpart, he'd always ask to de-escalate and don't take any steps that maybe make the escalation higher. So what do you say about that thing?
Well, that's something that I'll reiterate here is that we certainly don't want to see an escalation. We want to see tensions to de-escalate in the region. We are aware that the IDF is conducting operations in the West Bank, but again, we don't have an understanding of what that exactly is. We're trying to learn more about their operation. The United States supports Israel's right to defend itself against threats to its security, but as always, and as we will continue to say, it has to do so in a way that limits civilian casualties and limits damage to civilian infrastructure. And that's something that will always be imparted. And you've seen that message come through in the Secretary's readouts with his counterpart. Yeah, yes.
Thank you. I have a couple on Ukraine. Today, Ukrainian foreign minister said that the Patriot systems announced for Ukraine previously by the partners have not yet been delivered. Could you speak more to that? What causes a delay here?
A specific system by partners?
Those Patriot systems that were announced for Ukraine previously.
There are Patriot systems operating within Ukraine. I would defer to them.
Most recently during the
I don't have anything to read out or announce on the Patriot system. We've committed to providing them to Ukraine. Look, we continue to work with them when it comes to providing security assistance. The Patriot is quite a big system that we are sourcing different materials and component pieces from other countries to help Ukraine. I'd let Ukraine speak to that more specifically, but what I can tell you is they are getting a regular supply and support of security assistance from the United States and other, partners that are part of the UDCG. So I'm just going to leave it at that. You had other questions?
Expedite those deliveries given the recent massive attacks from Russia?
I think we've certainly expedited delivery of not just the Patriot, but other systems and capabilities to Ukraine, including reordering some orders by that were designated for other countries. We've prioritized Ukraine. So I'd actually push back on the fact that we haven't prioritized Ukraine as a country that needs it most. Yeah.
Just a quick follow-up back on the F-16.
Sure.
Ukraine has acknowledged the loss of the F-16, and former Rep. Adam Kinzinger has acknowledged that the pilot lost on Monday was one known as by his call sign as Moonfish. He was one of 2 Ukrainian pilots that were actually very vocal here in the U.S. pushing for fighter jets, going to training in Arizona. Is there any chance that this F-16 was brought down by friendly fire, by one of the Ukrainian Patriot missiles, for example?
So, again, I can't confirm I've seen the reporting. I just can't confirm it. I don't have that level of fidelity right now. So in terms of if this pilot was killed and it was brought down by friendly fire, that I just can't speak to. That'd really be something for the Ukrainians to speak to. The United States has not been asked to participate in any type of investigation to look into this incident. So, our role in this is that we continue to train and equip the Ukrainian pilots that come here for training. But when it comes to this particular incident, and I understand the frustration, but I don't have anything more to offer on it.
But is there a follow-on with the F-16s that have been delivered? Is there any sort of ongoing relationship? Is the U.S. tracking the F-16s? Are you providing ongoing maintenance? Are they,
It's not just the United States. You have to remember that there's an air capability coalition that has been stood up that the U.S. is, of course, a part of. So it's not just the United States providing support. Absolutely, the U.S. military is working with the Ukrainians on what they need, whether it be maintenance or, and that's, telephonic or, remote maintenance support and help. In terms of, tracking the F-16s, I'm not going to get into that level of detail, but we are certainly working with the pilots and the Ukrainian military to make sure that they are able to fly and operate these F-16s in the best way possible, and making sure that they're doing so safely. And, we're providing that support and continuing to train.